Ladies and gentlemen, every single day you wake up with the power to start over. Whatever happened yesterday, whether it was filled with success, failure, confusion, or even silence, does not get to define today unless you let it. That's the mindset of someone who truly understands that they are capable of greatness. And this capability isn't reserved for a few extraordinary people. It's available to anyone who decides to believe it, act on it, and build on it day after day. Being capable isn't about having all the answers or being the smartest person in the room. It's about showing up with a willingness to grow, to adapt, and to face whatever challenge stands in your way without shrinking in fear. When you begin your morning by telling yourself, I am capable, you plant a powerful seed in your mind. That seed doesn't need proof from the past, it just needs belief in the present. From the moment your feet touch the floor, this belief sets the tone for your thoughts, your effort, your confidence, and the way you face adversity. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You stop giving power to doubt. Instead, you say, if this day is a mountain, then I will climb it. If it is a battle, I will fight it. If it is an opportunity, I will take it. That belief becomes a quiet engine behind your actions. It's what makes you push through when you're tired. It's what allows you to take the first step even when you don't know the entire path. Being capable doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means not allowing those mistakes to become permanent walls. It means learning from failure instead of fearing it. It means showing up when you feel invisible. It means speaking up when you feel unheard. Because deep down, you recognize that capability isn't about ease, it's about courage. It's about reminding yourself that everything you admire in others, strength, confidence, discipline, resilience, is something you can develop in yourself. Think about how often we disqualify ourselves from our own dreams. We tell ourselves we're not smart enough, not experienced enough, not confident enough. We compare ourselves to others who are further along, forgetting that they too started with doubt. We let fear of failure chain us to comfort. But greatness does not grow in comfort. It grows in discomfort. It grows in the moments where we lean into pressure instead of running from it. That is where the real transformation begins. Not when you feel ready, but when you show up anyway, because you know deep inside that you can handle it. Every skill can be learned. Every weakness can be trained. Every challenge can be broken down into steps. The person who tells themselves, I can, every morning, rewires their brain to see opportunity where others see limitations. They begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently, not because they're pretending, but because they're finally stepping into the truth that was always there. You are more than what the world tells you. You are more than what your past says. You are more than your fears. And the more you speak that truth into your mornings, the more your day reflects it back to you. The most successful people in any field didn't get there by being extraordinary from the beginning. They got there because they believed they could become someone better. They acted in spite of their fear. They stumbled and then stood up. They failed and then recalculated. They never allowed the story in their head to say, I'm not good enough, without rewriting it to say, maybe not yet, but I'm capable of becoming. That's the difference. Not natural talent, not luck, not timing. It's mindset. It's daily reinforcement. It's waking up and telling yourself, not once, not when things go well, but every single morning that you are capable of greatness and then living like it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because capability isn't loud. It's not about arrogance or proving anything to others. It's quiet. It's consistent. It's the voice that says, I will keep going even when I don't feel like it. It's the energy that carries you through the chaos and the confusion, because deep inside, there is a spark that refuses to die. That spark is belief. That spark is strength. That spark is you. And the more you feed it, the brighter it burns. You control your energy and your mindset. That's a truth most people overlook as they drift into their day, letting the world dictate how they feel, how they think, and how they act. But when you decide to own your energy, everything changes. You no longer absorb negativity by default. You filter it. You no longer react impulsively. You respond with clarity. Life isn't just about what happens to you. It's about how you choose to carry yourself through it. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You stop adjusting to everyone else's temperature and begin setting your own. That means if someone brings chaos, you don't mirror it, you counter it with calm. If someone brings doubt, you don't absorb it, you answer it with confidence. You become intentional with your focus and fierce with your peace. Your energy is sacred. It's the fuel that powers your thoughts, your decisions, and your presence. And if you don't protect it, the world will drain it. Slowly, subtly, until you forget how strong you actually are. That's why each morning, before emails, messages, demands, or distractions, you must speak to yourself with conviction. Remind yourself that you are in charge of what gets your attention and what doesn't. You don't owe your mental space to every voice or every opinion. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every moment needs your participation. Choose wisely what you allow in, because whatever you allow in begins to shape the way you see yourself and the way you move through the day. There will be noise, there will be setbacks, but if your energy is anchored in intention, you won't be easily shaken. You'll learn to breathe before you respond, to pause before you react, to think before you let the outside world determine your inside state. That level of self-awareness doesn't happen by accident. It happens by reminding yourself daily that your energy is your responsibility and nobody else's. When you decide to lead your day with purpose instead of pressure, you begin to shift your life in powerful ways. You stop giving power to distractions. You stop chasing validation. You step into alignment with who you want to be, regardless of who or what tries to pull you off track. You create emotional discipline, not to become cold, but to stay clear. And as your energy strengthens, so does your clarity. You start to notice the difference between what drains you and what builds you. You recognize that some conversations don't need your input. Some conflicts aren't worth your peace. Some habits don't serve the person you're becoming. And suddenly you no longer feel guilty for saying no. You no longer feel weak for stepping away. You feel strong because you know what you're guarding. You're guarding your future. You're protecting your potential. And that requires boundaries. That requires presence. That requires power. When you control your mindset, you stop living by default and start living by design. No longer are you a passenger, you're the driver. Your mindset shapes your direction. If you wake up and let stress, fear, or doubt take the wheel, the road becomes blurry. But if you start your morning by planting thoughts of strength, clarity, and purpose, you begin to see every challenge not as a threat, but as a test. Every difficulty becomes a training ground. Every moment becomes a mirror showing you how much you've grown and how much further you can go. That kind of mindset isn't unrealistic. It's radical ownership. And the second truth that must be repeated every morning is this: you don't need to feel ready to take action. Waiting for the perfect moment is the fastest way to kill momentum. Readiness is a myth. Action builds readiness. Confidence grows from movement. Clarity comes from doing. If you're waiting to feel motivated, confident, or prepared before starting, you'll be stuck forever. The people who change their lives aren't the ones who wait. They're the ones who move forward despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the unknown. You grow not when things are perfect, but when you decide that imperfection is no longer a reason to delay. You move not because everything is figured out, but because staying stuck is more painful than taking a risk. You act, even when the voice in your head says you're not good enough, because deep down you know that voice is lying. Every great achievement in history began with someone who had the courage to begin before they were ready. That same courage lives in you. It's not about giant leaps. It's about taking the next step, and then the next. Progress is built in motion, not in waiting rooms. You don't have to be fearless to move. You just have to be willing. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces you can tap into every morning. It doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you see. When you wake up and immediately focus on what's missing, what's wrong, or what hasn't happened yet, you drain your energy before your day even begins. But when you train your mind to notice what's already good, already working, already present, you step into a mindset of abundance. You start your day from a place of strength, not scarcity. Gratitude reminds you that even if you're not where you want to be, you still have what it takes to get there. You still have life, breath, time, and opportunity. These are not small things. These are the very foundation of transformation. When you learn to look at the ordinary with extraordinary awareness, everything begins to shift. The way the sun comes through your window, the fact that you can move your body, the people in your life who support you, the small wins that go unnoticed. Gratitude helps you become aware of how much you have instead of how much you lack. And that awareness fuels contentment, resilience, and confidence. You begin to stop chasing happiness in the distant future and start finding it in the present moment. You realize that your life doesn't need to be perfect to be deeply meaningful. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain, problems, or goals. It means choosing to focus on the parts of your life that give you strength to face those challenges. It's not passive, it's powerful. It's a mindset you actively build brick by brick, moment by moment. And the more you do it, the more your perspective changes. Suddenly, struggles become lessons. Failures become feedback. Delays become protection because you've trained your mind to look for what's right even in the middle of what's wrong. That's not delusion, that's discipline. That's a skill most people never master, but if you do, you'll carry a light within you that no outside darkness can take away. When you combine gratitude with intentional action, you unlock a different level of potential because you're no longer running from life, you're running with it. You use your past as a teacher, not a prison. You stop fixating on what others have and start maximizing what you've been given. That's when you become truly unstoppable, not because everything's easy, but because you've learned to see everything as a gift. Even the hard things, even the slow seasons, because you know that everything shapes you into someone stronger, deeper, and more capable than you were before. The next truth that fuels your day is this: every small effort counts. So many people wait for big breakthroughs, massive wins, or dramatic changes before they believe they're making progress. But the truth is, greatness is built in the small things, repeated consistently, even when no one's watching. When you wake up and remind yourself that the little actions matter, you stop underestimating your daily decisions. You realize that one workout, one healthy meal, 1 hour of deep work, one act of kindness, it all adds up. It compounds over time. And while others quit because they don't see instant results, you keep going because you trust the process. Progress isn't always visible at first. Just like seeds take time to sprout, your efforts take time to show fruit. But they are working. Every time you push through resistance, you're building discipline. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you're strengthening self-respect. Every time you get up and try again, you're proving to yourself that you are someone who doesn't quit. That's how confidence is earned, not from words, but from action. And the smaller the step, the more powerful it becomes when done consistently. Most people fail not because they aren't talented, but because they stop too soon. They give up right before the momentum builds. But when you focus on the small wins, on showing up, staying committed, and doing your best, even on the hard days, you create a rhythm. That rhythm becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a lifestyle. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. And when you understand that truth, you no longer get discouraged by how far you have to go. You stay inspired by how far you've already come. Effort isn't always glamorous, doesn't always feel good, but it's always worth it because every drop of effort builds something real, something lasting, something that no one can take from you. And that's why you keep going, not because it's easy, but because every small effort today is an investment in the stronger, wiser, more powerful version of you that you're becoming. You create your future through today's choices. Every thought you follow, every action you take, every decision you make becomes part of the blueprint for your tomorrow. Most people live as if the future is something that just happens, something they have to stumble into or hope for. But the truth is the future is shaped moment by what you do right now when you wake up and choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, purpose over convenience. You are not just surviving the day, you are designing the life you want to live. The power lies in your daily habits, the things you repeatedly do without even thinking. Your routines become your identity. If you want to change your life, You don't wait for a miracle. You change what you do today. The way you speak to yourself, the things you tolerate, the goals you prioritize, and the mindset you carry are not just background noise. They are instructions to your future. When you speak with intention, your actions begin to align with your value. When you act with clarity, your results begin to reflect your focus. Everything matters more than you think. That moment you choose to get up instead of hitting snooze is a signal. That decision to read instead of scrolling, to plan instead of procrastinate, to speak up instead of staying silent, it all creates momentum. That momentum doesn't vanish. It carries you into the next moment, the next opportunity, the next challenge. And when you string together enough of those intentional choices, you wake up one day and realize you've built a completely different life, not through luck or chance, but through a series of deliberate actions taken when it wasn't easy, when it wasn't convenient, but when it mattered most. The small decisions that feel insignificant are actually the bricks of your future. Each time you choose self-respect over self-doubt, discipline over impulse, growth over fear, you become more of the person you were meant to be. You create a future not by wishing for it, but by acting in alignment with it. The person you'll become is built by the person you choose to be today, and that choice is always within your control. Too often we give our future away. We waste it on distractions. We surrender it to habits that drain us, to thoughts that limit us, to fears that paralyze us. But when you take your future seriously, you take your present seriously. You begin to realize that the future isn't something waiting for you to arrive. It's something already in motion, shaped by what you do this very hour. And if you want it to look different, feel different, be different, then today must be different too. There is no shortcut around it. There is no fast forward button to the best version of you. There is only now. Your power exists in this moment. Right now, you can choose to shift your focus. You can choose to move, to act, to build, to rise. You can write, speak, train, rest, or create. You can say yes to the things that align with your vision and no to the things that waste your potential. You are not stuck. You are not powerless. You are not waiting for permission. You have a vision inside of you that deserves to be honored with action. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but now. Because the future you want is counting on the present you to step up and show up. And if you feel uncertain, if you feel overwhelmed by how far you have to go, that's okay. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know the whole path. You just need to take the next right step. That one step, done with purpose, done with belief, shifts your direction. And once your direction shifts, your destination does too. It's not about massive overnight change. It's about consistent movement forward. It's about making today meaningful so that tomorrow has something solid to stand on. Every morning, remind yourself that you are not just living this day, you are building something with it. A future you, a future reality, a future life. The effort you give, the discipline you show, the mindset you choose, it all leaves a mark. It either pulls you closer to your vision or pushes you further from it. That's the power you hold in your hands every single morning. You don't need permission to pursue growth. Too often, people wait for someone to validate their dreams, to recognize their potential, or to give them the green light to take the next step. But the truth is, no one is coming to give you that permission. The world isn't going to pause and say, now is your time. That's a decision you have to make for yourself. The growth doesn't require approval from anyone else. It only requires your willingness to begin, to keep going, and to believe that you are worthy of evolving into something more. The moment you stop seeking permission and start acting with intention is the moment everything changes. There's a mindset that tells us we need to be chosen, selected, praised before we can move forward. It's deeply ingrained in us. This idea that we need to be picked before we can shine. But real transformation doesn't work that way. It's not about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself. It's about waking up and deciding that your future matters more than your fear. It's about realizing that waiting for someone else's validation is a trap that will keep you stuck. The longer you wait, the more you delay your potential. You don't need someone else to believe in you first. You need to believe in yourself enough to take the first step and trust that your confidence will grow along the way. Growth requires you to step outside of comfort, and comfort is often wrapped in the illusion of safety, doing what's familiar, staying where you're accepted, living by someone else's expectations. But none of that will lead you to fulfillment. When you stop asking for permission, you begin to break the boundaries that have been silently holding you back. You begin to move, speak, and act with freedom. You take risks not because you're reckless, but because you understand that progress demands movement. Permission is a wall. Intention is the key. The day you stop seeking someone else's approval is the day you finally begin building your own foundation. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. Somewhere deep inside, there's a quiet voice that's been guiding you all along. It's the voice that tells you to try again, to start that project, to apply for the opportunity, to end what no longer serves you, to become more than who you've been pretending to be. That voice gets drowned out by doubt, fear, and noise. But it never disappears. And when you stop seeking permission, that voice gets loud. It becomes a guide, not an echo. It reminds you that everything you need is already within you. You just have to give yourself the authority to use it. Every great person you admire, the leaders, the creators, the innovators, at one point made a decision to move forward without being asked. They took a leap before they had confirmation that it would work out. They made the first move before they were praised for it. They grew into their role, their identity, their power, because they didn't wait to be handed a title or an invitation. They stepped into their own potential and let the results speak for themselves. That's the level of self-trust it takes to grow. That's the mindset that turns ideas into impact. There's nothing stopping you from doing the same except the belief that you can't. But that belief isn't truth. It's a limitation you've been taught. And just like any belief, it can be rewritten. Every time you act without permission, you rewrite your story. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you redefine what's possible. You begin to see that your life doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Your pace, your path, your dreams, they're yours to define, and the only permission you need is your own. That permission is powerful. That permission is freedom. And it begins the moment you stop waiting and start becoming. You are evolving daily into your best self, not through dramatic overnight transformations, but through consistent, intentional choices. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are shaping your identity. Your habits, your thoughts, your responses, your discipline, they are quietly sculpting you into someone new. Growth is not something you achieve all at once. It's something you earn over time. A journey from who you were to who you're becoming is not a sudden leap. It's a steady progression. And it begins with understanding that who you are today does not define who you are destined to be. Each morning offers you another opportunity to step further into the version of yourself that you truly want to become. The beauty of this truth is that evolution isn't reserved for people who have it all figured out. You don't need to have all the answers, all the skills, or all the resources to grow. What you need is the will to improve. You need the courage to face your flaws, the strength to be honest with yourself, and the discipline to make small, meaningful shifts every day. When you wake up with the mindset that you are in the process of becoming, not stuck, not finished, but transforming, you free yourself from the pressure to be perfect. You give yourself room to breathe, to try, to fail, and to rise stronger than before. Becoming your best self doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means returning to the strongest, clearest, most authentic version of who you've always had the potential to be. It means removing the layers of fear, self-doubt, distraction, and insecurity that have built up over time. It means replacing destructive patterns with empowering ones. It means listening to that quiet inner voice that knows you are made for more purpose, more courage, more presence, more impact. And each time you make a choice that honors that voice, you take a step toward alignment. You step closer to the life that fits your values, your passion, your truth. You don't need to wait for a major event or some external breakthrough to start evolving. The process is already happening. Every decision you make, what you eat, how you speak, how you treat others, how you talk to yourself, reinforces who you're becoming. If you want to be stronger, start choosing strength in your small moments. If you want to be more confident, speak like someone who believes in their words. If you want to be focused, eliminate what distracts you. Each of these seemingly minor acts is an investment in your future self. And those investments compound over days, weeks, months. They create real, lasting change. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. Days when the weight of old habits or negative voices tries to pull you back. That's part of the process. Growth isn't linear, but it is real. And when you learn to trust the process, when you begin to track not just results, but effort, resilience, and consistency, you'll start to see how far you've come. The evolution of your mindset, the increase in your awareness, the quiet strength you carry, these are signs of transformation. They don't always get applause, but they matter deeply. When you treat each day as a building block in your becoming, you stop wasting time. You stop putting off your potential. You stop waiting for life to slow down or circumstances to improve. You start owning your time, your choices, your identity. You begin to take pride in your discipline and your ability to do what needs to be done even when no one's watching. You show up for yourself in ways that no one else can, because you know that no one else is responsible for your evolution but you. And every time you show up, even in the smallest way, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. The process of becoming your best self is not about pressure. It's about power. The power to choose progress over perfection. The power to rise when you fall. The power to keep showing up, keep learning, and keep becoming. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are evolving, and that is more than enough. You don't chase motivation, you build it. Motivation isn't something you wait for, something that strikes at the perfect time or arrives like lightning when you're ready to begin. It's something you generate through action, through momentum, through showing up when it would be easier to quit. People often make the mistake of believing they need to feel inspired before they can take action. But that belief keeps them stuck. The reality is that motivation comes after movement. It's born from effort. It grows each time you keep a promise to yourself, each time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. That's where true motivation lives, not in a feeling, but in a habit. The truth is, waiting for motivation is a trap. It's a cycle that convinces you to delay progress, to postpone responsibility, to seek comfort instead of change. And every time you fall into that pattern, you weaken your self-trust. You begin to believe that you can only act when things feel perfect, when energy is high, when circumstances align. But the strongest people you admire, the ones who make change, lead, grow, and succeed, they don't wait. They build, they work, they push, even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. They understand that discipline is more dependable than emotion, that action creates clarity, that momentum fuels itself. You don't have to feel powerful to take powerful steps. You just have to begin. And once you do, once you start to show up consistently, something shifts. You start to realize that you don't need the emotional high to get things done. You just need a system. You need habits that carry you through the days when your energy is low and your mind is filled with doubt. Those habits are the foundation of motivation. They're the reminders to your brain and body that you are committed, even when comfort whispers for you to stop. Over time, those repeated actions turn into momentum, and that momentum becomes motivation. Think of motivation as a fire. If you sit around waiting for the flame to appear on its own, you'll stay cold forever. But if you gather the wood, strike the match, and feed the spark with your effort, the fire grows. It becomes easier to maintain. That's how you build internal fuel, by doing the work even before the fire starts, by trusting that if you move forward first, the drive to keep going will follow. And when it does, it won't just come in bursts. It will become part of you, part of your identity, part of the way you operate. This shift in mindset is what separates high achievers from those who stay stuck. They don't rely on inspiration to carry them. They rely on consistency. They build rituals that support their growth, routines that guide them when emotion is unreliable. And that kind of structure doesn't make them rigid. It gives them freedom, freedom to show up, freedom to grow, freedom to be productive, regardless of how they feel, because they've trained themselves to act based on values, not moods. Every time you take action without waiting for motivation, you strengthen a powerful part of yourself. You reinforce your own integrity. You prove to your mind that you're someone who can be trusted to follow through. That proof builds confidence, and confidence is one of the greatest motivators of all. When you know that you'll show up for yourself no matter what, when you've seen yourself push through resistance and win, you begin to crave progress, not because it's always easy, but because it reminds you of who you are and what you're capable of. You don't chase motivation, you create it. You build it like a muscle. You show up even when it's dark, even when you're tired, even when no one's watching, because you know that those are the moments that matter most. That's where resilience is formed. That's where belief is born, not in the highlight reel, but in the quiet, unseen decisions to keep going. And the more you do that, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, you're not even looking for motivation anymore. You're simply living in momentum. You are destined to become more. That truth exists deep within you, even when the world is loud with doubt, even when your own thoughts feel heavy with uncertainty. There's a part of you that knows you were meant for something greater, not just in a material way, but in the way you think, feel, move, and impact the world around you. That part of you isn't driven by ego or comparison. It's fueled by a quiet conviction that you are not born to stay stagnant, to settle, or to shrink. You were born to evolve, to expand, to rise. Every day you wake up is another chance to step closer to that version of yourself who walks with power, purpose, and peace. You may not fully see that version yet, but pieces of it live in every decision you make. Every time you silence your doubt and take a step anyway, you shape that person. Every time you choose to keep going when it would be easier to quit, you breathe life into that identity. And every time you hold yourself to a higher standard, not because someone's watching, but because you've decided to expect more from yourself, you activate that future you who's already waiting on the other side of consistency. Becoming more doesn't happen in sudden life-altering moments. It happens in quiet repetitions. It happens when you choose patience instead of frustration, discipline instead of excuses, self-belief instead of self-pity. It happens when you do the hard thing even when the easy thing is available. The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't closed by chance. It's closed by effort. It's closed by sacriflection and by the daily decision to not settle for average. The life you envision isn't something that magically appears one day. It's something you build piece by piece with the raw materials of your current reality. And that's what makes this journey so powerful, because you don't need anything outside of you to begin. You don't need a perfect background, a specific personality, or flawless timing. You just need the willingness to take responsibility for your growth. You need to remind yourself that your destiny isn't determined by your past, but by your persistence. And if you're still breathing, you're not finished becoming. There's still more inside of you to bring forward. There are still levels of strength, courage, intelligence, and resilience you haven't even touched yet. The future version of you will be built on the actions you take today. When you start living with this mindset, your standards rise. You stop engaging in things that waste your energy. You stop participating in habits that pull you backward. You begin to feel that tension between who you are and who you could be, and instead of ignoring it, you use it. That tension becomes a signal, a reminder, not of what's wrong with you, but of what's possible for you. And the more you listen to that signal, the clearer your vision becomes. You start to think differently, speak differently, and show up in ways that align with your higher self, not your excuses. There's a reason why you've felt restless, a reason why comfort doesn't satisfy you. It's because you're not meant to live in survival mode. You're meant to thrive, to lead, to create, to influence, to grow. You're meant to live with intention, to leave a mark, to become the kind of person you would be proud of. And no matter how far off that vision might feel, you're already on the path. The fact that you even desire more is proof that it's possible. That seed wouldn't exist in you if it wasn't meant to grow. Growth doesn't happen because life gets easier. It happens because you get stronger, because you choose to keep walking even when the road is uphill, because you learn to trust yourself, to carry yourself with quiet confidence, and to build character that no circumstance can take away. The person you're becoming is forged in the fire of your discipline, in the silence of your efforts, in the moments when no one is clapping, but you show up anyway. You are destined to become more, not by accident, but by choice. Every day, every decision, every moment is a brushstroke on the canvas of who you are becoming. And the masterpiece is already in progress.